following program is a special presentation of the Big Ten Network, produced in association with Michigan State University.
I'm Jim Peck. Welcome to MSU Today. Here's what's coming right now.
Comic books and college. A Spartan Saga with Dr. Brooks. Hands-on with science and research. Reaching out through sports. Magnetic Africa.
Comic books and college go together like, well, I'm not really sure, but it is amazing what you can learn from Spider-Man.
Just across the street from campus,
It's exciting.
there is this small store
1548.
where captains, bats, and spiders live,
If you'd like me to put that on hold for you until you decide whether or not.
surrounded by collectibles and action figures.
Do you want it signed?
Yeah, please.
This doesn't seem like a location for a college class finally,
You know, this I make to my kids, to Raina and Mashika.
but this event is these students' final exam.
This is a culmination of the entire semester of my comics and visual narrative class.
Hello.
They have a final comic and then they have a final comic book, and those are the things that they're graded on. But their final is this book signing.
So, really? There's a class about comics?
Yeah, it's an art studio course. It's Studio Art 491, comics and visual narrative.
Well, so like, hey, it's a thing you like, and there's a class about it so you can get better, and there's nothing wrong with that. That can only be good.
Focuses on the production of comics, so it's not a literature course, it's not an English course. We're actually making comics.
I draw comics because I like comics, and when I like something, I like to try it myself and figure out how it works.
It's a very cool comic signing where these kids try to sell their own handmade stuff.
I've basically got a bunch of stuff in here. I've got this 2-page artist statement where I basically lay out what I told you about why I'm in this class, why I'm drawing these comics.
So, throughout the semester, students produce a number of comic projects that are combined into these books. Through the production of the comics, they learn things like storytelling, text, and imagery. But why comics?
I love the medium, I grew up with it, and I think it's a really rich medium to work with.
Ryan Claytor's class is here today.
Combines images and text, and you can do pretty much anything with that.
Today, Ryan Claytor's class is coming in with all of their projects for their semester. I think their final project is usually to create an ash can of comics that they made themselves.
So they go from pencils to script to inks to final book, as you see here.
Usually they come out with some really fantastic printing jobs and some very interesting techniques, and it's always exciting to see what they have for sale.
Here's an autobiographical comic I drew about my summer job and how that went horrendously awry. I got thrown in a pond at the end.
And at the end, they compile all of their comics into their own books. And here they are selling them and signing them, doing a bookstore signing at the end of the semester. So this is kind of like their rock star final.
Here you go. Thank you very much.
We don't often think about comic books as a form of art, but the history of comic books runs deep in our culture.
Comics is a medium that's gone back in history a long time. Comics as we know them in America, that has a history about 80 years long, really. But I think that it's a medium just like any other. You know, it includes that visual narrative, that sequential art format.
And a little fictional story about a first date that also goes terribly awry.
And that is what these students get to learn, how to produce an art form that they love, and how to make that art into a form that fans can appreciate.
They get out visual storytelling. They, this combination of image and text is something that our society is working with a lot now. And, we know that people don't learn in just one way. They don't just learn from text. They just don't learn just from visuals or sound or auditory. So it really combines a lot of those things.
For my silent comic, I went a little bit non-traditional and didn't divide it up into pages. I made one very long form thing with 5 simultaneous storylines. So it's like a nice little bonus in the back of the book.
The store starts to get busy with customers, friends, and family stopping by to check out the comics.
Very proud parent of our son Brian, who's going to be graduating this year from Michigan State.
So how do you tell your father that you want to take a class in comic books?
You know, it didn't surprise us at all. I know that's kind of out of the box, the comic book class, but As we were just talking to his instructor a couple minutes ago, Brian's been drawing comics since he was probably 3 years old. So for us, it didn't shock us one bit. Matter of fact, it seemed like a natural.
Many of these students hope to continue on to an art career with places like DC Comics or Marvel Comics, and a class like this gives them the head start to understanding the comics business.
You know, we focus on things like pacing and panelization and panel structure and layout and graphic design and things like that, so that people can intuitively read these things. You know, make it that seamless read.
Oh, we wanted to see the culmination of all these kids' hard work and putting their books together. And Brian's was great. We've actually seen, well, obviously we've seen a lot of his work over the years, but it's nice to see the whole class's books. As a matter of fact, came here with the intent of buying a couple, but we decided to just buy one from everybody because we couldn't choose.
So the student comics are a great success, and it shows that teaching comics at MSU is a super idea.
I can't draw a lick, so for me it would not have been a good class, but obviously for these students here it was well worthwhile. I think it's awesome. They all did a great job.
This presentation has been brought to you by Michigan State University, America's premier land-grant institution. 150 years of advancing knowledge, transforming lives.
The day we created a cancer drug that saved millions of lives began like any other day. And when we developed a new way to purify the world's water supplies, it might have been a Tuesday or possibly a Thursday. And whether it's alternative energy or better food safety, the next time we help create a solution to one of the world's great problems, we'll be proud. Then we'll get back to work. Michigan State University. Spartans will.
Spartans are making a difference all over the world. In Mississippi, Dr. Ann Brooks is helping like none other.
My name is Sister Ann Brooks, DO. I'm the CEO of the Tutwiler Clinic in Mississippi. Why don't you sort of take it easy today?
All right.
All right. I'll turn you loose.
Okay.
I'm also a sister of the Holy Names of Jesus and Mary. I started DO school when I was 40, and I finished in 1982. To my way of thinking, the fact that Michigan State was accepting women, that there were a number of women in our class, we were 41 out of 125, which isn't really very much now, I'm sure there are more. But they were out to help the student. I felt that it was a very nourishing place, that they took whatever talents that you had and helped you polish them up, maybe helped you discover some you didn't know you had. What happened was, in my 4th year of studies in the DO school there, I took a month off to wander around and see. There were a couple things I wanted to know. One of them was, how, as a nun with a vow of poverty, how do I run a practice? I wandered down to Georgia, I went down to Louisiana, I went to Florida, to Immokalee, to the migrant clinic down there, came up to Mississippi. Mississippi is, you know, always at the bottom of the barrel usually. We're always happy if Alabama got there first or Louisiana got there first, but it's a very needy state. And so when I got back up to Michigan, I wrote letters to the little towns in the area, and only one town answered me, and that was the town of Tutwiler. They didn't tell me they had a clinic building, and I didn't tell them I was a nun, so we were even. Tutwiler is a little town in the Delta in Mississippi. It is pretty much a failing town. They used to have 23 trains a day up to Memphis, but no longer. There's folks that come in there that have never really taken care of themselves because they don't understand what's the matter with them. And so we talk a lot about what you can do to help yourself be healthy. And what my basic premise is, I want these people to have power. I want them to have power for their health. Sometimes they don't want the power. Sometimes the power I want them to have, they're not willing to take on. Like responsibility for stopping smoking, for example, or responsibility for watching the fat in their diet. There's a racial thing involved here, I think. When I first started, I had to change the way that I examined a patient because I couldn't confront them and just look at them. I had to stand by the side because I didn't want them to be scared. So I would listen to their heart or their lungs from the side. One fellow told me one time when I asked him to take off his shirt so I could hear him breathe, he said, "Oh, doctor, I never had such a good examination." But I hadn't done anything. I hadn't listened to him yet. He didn't understand that. So just that simple act of asking somebody to let me put my stethoscope on their skin was a big deal. And as time has gone by, it's 27 years now, people look me straight in the eye and they tell me what they want to tell me. They tell me about myself too, so it's a good exchange. The fact that they trust me with their lives, with stuff that's private, with things that they probably wouldn't tell even members of their own family, that's a very special place to be. I try to listen a whole lot because most of the time people don't listen to others. Even our own ordinary society, we're busy talking, but we don't always listen. I try to figure out ways of helping them, and sometimes what we do, we provide medicine for patients, but we ask them to pay for it. We pay for part of it, pay for a little bit of it. We carry people to the doctor when they need to go to a specialist. We don't charge for that. We do charge for our clinic visits, and 68% of our patients don't have a way of paying us, so sometimes it's a little hard to get some money out of them, but we take squash, we take fish, we take work off the bill. There are unexpected benefits where someone will give us a hug sometime, bring us something. Back in the scripture someplace in Matthew now, us Catholics, we're not good at doing verse and chapter, but there's a line someplace in Matthew, I think it's someplace in the 10th chapter, where he says, "Freely you have received, freely give." And there's that push in me to want to give and to dedicate my life to caring for patients so that they will care about themselves. And maybe my example of caring about them will help them to realize that they're important also to themselves and care enough to get better, to do what they're supposed to do to be healthy. A nun is somebody who tries to have a very close union with God. And a lot of ways to do that. One way is to serve God's people. One way is to listen to those who come to you, because God is waiting to work through you to help them feel better. And one of the things that happens to me in the evening when I'm sealing the charts in the computer, you know, you tell the computer to seal that chart and it has to drag all the stuff from all these places. So it doesn't just do it instantly. And during that moment, I pray for the patient whose chart I'm sealing. I don't know how many doctors do that, but when you're a nun doctor, you find little reasons to pray for your patients.
Getting kids interested in science and research is critical if the next generation is going to solve the big problems of the world. Getting them some hands-on experience is key.
The cathode is where...
So electrons enter through the cathode, right?
They come in through the...
I'm interested in science and I want to learn more about it, and probably it's the first step to my future.
I'm excited about exploring all the medical field and deciding what I really want to do, what I'm passionate about.
It's a Future Scientist program. It's a coordinated effort by the Michigan State University, Lansing School District, and the American Cancer Society to bring young, budding scientists from the high schools.
I go to Sexton High School.
Ever High School. Into the university, give them a summer experience.
Science research has been largely decreasing over the years, so they're trying to get more kids interested at this age.
So that we can promote them through their undergraduate programs as careers.
10 students from the Lansing School District who get to work at some of MSU's labs for 8 weeks out of the summer.
And in a sense, an attempt to capture their interest in science.
I want to be a radiologist.
I just want to know how a career in science actually happens.
They're still exploring, you know, what is going to capture their passion. And so this is a time to really sample broadly across fields, but in this case across the sciences.
We had 10 faculty mentors.
Danae Rosendahl.
Dr. Kenneth Rosenman.
Dr. Greg Swain.
Dr. Way.
Learning the ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the beginning.
Yes.
The faculty embraced this because this is what they do. You know, they've always had university undergraduates in the program. They have obviously graduate students in the program. But bringing in high school juniors or to be high school seniors is just another dimension.
Some of the most unusual and creative efforts that have come out of my labs have actually started with these high school students.
Bladder cancer and certain chemicals that may cause bladder cancer.
Experience on fuel cell part.
Tree Research Center for plant biology.
Samples of blood and bone marrow and tissues to see if a patient has cancer.
But we made the experience interesting Because you know, research is sometimes a grind. It's not always, you get the results you want. That's why we do research. And it turns out that by providing other activities on campus, exposing them to other things that helps them grow as young people, we really put together a summer experience.
Right now, we're visiting the cyclotron at MSU. This is what we do on every Thursday. We have a little field trip and a seminar.
And now we're going to take the tour back into the research area. Follow me?
It's very interesting and exciting.
It's cool to know that some of the things that they're doing here helps further technology and medicine.
It's really awesome. I made some new friends. The professors are awesome. I feel like I'm learning something every day.
They learned a lot more than just simply collecting data.
A lot of stuff is way beyond my understanding, but I've enjoyed it.
They came through big time, and I was proud of them.
Just beyond words, really.
This is a great experience.
The outcome is 10 young people had an experience, I think, that'll serve them in good standing for the rest of their lives, and that's the important thing.
Finding your place in the world can be tough. It can be even tougher if you're a refugee living in a foreign country. You're about to meet Meredith Whitley, a Spartan who's reaching out through sports.
It is called the Refugee Sports Club, the Refugee Sport Club, and myself and other undergraduate, master's, and doctoral students at Michigan State work with a nonprofit organization in downtown Lansing that serves refugees. And we run sport clubs each semester with a group of, say, 10 to 15 refugees, and we have 2 sport clubs each semester. We focus on giving them an opportunity to be part of a team, play sports, have fun, while also trying to infuse some life skills development, character development into that. We talk a lot about how to be respectful in the gym, how to be a great teammate, how to be a great leader, but we also talk about how to transfer that into the real world, right? So it's not just linked to, great, you can be a respectful soccer player, or you're a really good teammate in basketball, but then you go to school or you go to play with your friends or you go home and you don't carry any of those lessons into real life. And so we also focus a lot on that transfer piece. Actually, the first year and a half, 2 years, we had a lot of kids coming from Tanzania. They're actually coming from refugee camps within Tanzania, interestingly, so that wasn't their home country. But this year, we have quite a few coming from Burma, which is new. We've never had anyone from outside of Africa before, so we're really excited about that. So I would say right now those are 2 big areas that we're drawing from, but we also have a few kids coming from Eritrea and Ethiopia, as well as I believe we have 1 or 2 from the Congo and a few other countries, Zambia, and kind of scattered about. So it's a nice mix. If you frame it in the right way and you take the right approach, you're able to celebrate their differences. I thrive off of their excitement, their energy, and working with children, working with adolescents is just, it's exciting, it's inspiring. I can't think of anything better. I think that MSU, it's the first land-grant university in America. There's always been a focus on being linked with the community. And for me, I've been very supported in that, in being linked to the community, in linking research to practice and linking practice back to research. So what I'm doing in the gym, what I'm working with the refugees in my program, I'm now thinking back, how does that change my research questions? What am I doing? How do you do research that is done with the community, done with the population you're working with, instead of kind of the traditional, like, I'm researching you, I'm doing research on you. Quite honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten that experience anywhere else. Certainly when I graduate, I hope having that certification, but really going through that process of thinking about how to become an engaged scholar is, I think, quite unique. The mantra used to be, think locally, act globally, but now it's changing to this idea of thinking globally and acting locally. And I really believe in that. I think that myself and my peers and the students I'm teaching and interacting with are really interested in getting involved in the communities around them and having, hopefully, a big impact on the people in their communities.
This presentation has been brought to you by Michigan State University, America's premier land-grant institution. 150 years of advancing knowledge, transforming lives.
There's a lot of attention on Africa. Some are drawn by the animals, some by the challenges. Others are attracted by a great big magnet that's saving lives.
MSU is attracted to Malawi, and this giant magnet doesn't hurt. It's thanks to a partnership between MSU, GE, and the country of Malawi in southern Africa. It means thousands of people can get an MRI to help doctors like Terry Taylor figure out what's wrong with them, and, hopefully, to help them get better.
I think the most obvious face of Michigan State here is the magnet, is the MRI.
Dr. Terry Taylor is a clinician and researcher. She's been working in Malawi for more than 20 years. She says having the MRI is, well, big.
Huge deal, huge, transformational.
It's transformational because it's saving lives. Dr. Taylor and her team used to rely on autopsies when looking for clues into how malaria was killing children. But there was no way to know how to take action before it was too late. There was no way to know exactly why some lived and some didn't. That's all different now.
Now we'll be able to see inside the heads of everyone, whether they survive or die. And in kids who survive longer than a day, we'll be able to look at them sequentially.
And that will help the intense work going on to try to make these kids better. The MRI lets doctors peek into the body to see what's going on. It plays a crucial role in the research being done into this deadly disease. Dr. Carl Seidel says it's proof that MSU really can transform lives.
Definitely you can see transforming lives here. I mean, some of the kids you saw on rounds this morning, I mean, they would not have survived if it weren't for the establishment of this research ward, which was, set up by Terry and her collaborators 20 years ago. So, I mean, as far as transforming, you can't transform a life much more than saving a life. I mean, if you don't get a life, you can't transform it.
It's the only one in Malawi, and patients come from all over the country and even beyond its borders to be seen, really seen. It's here in Malawi. Terry Taylor says it belongs to the people here. And it is here thanks to an MSU partnership that pulled people and resources together. Isn't that just like a magnet?
That's it. For more on the show, head to our website or join us on Facebook. I'm Jim Peck. I'll see you next time.
Michigan State University in association with the Big Ten Network.